And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to jump into another series, as our first series ended very quickly, watching NV stomp all over Spot Up's hope of playing further in the upper portion of the bracket during the group stage. Again, Spot Up not eliminated, NV moving into that upper decider, Spot Up now moving into the knockout match to be playing later today. So a difficult blow for Spot Up, but they've still got opportunity to fight. Now, you saw us bid farewell to Lex and Vansili, as we have some new casters joining us. So we'll be jumping to that in just a second, and we'll be joined by some beautiful British faces and some beautifully bald heads. I think it's actually a perfect time. We've got Tom, Biz, and Ryan Central who are going to be joining me on the broadcast, and just look at the shine off of Tom.
We are the BBG. There you go, the beautiful bald gamers.
I like that. We're taking over.
I've definitely not stolen that from somewhere that's coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, TSM versus BBG versus BBG. It's a three-way match, and we'll see which one's going to end up coming out on top. Tom, Ryan, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on the broadcast. We just watched a quick series wrap up as NV kind of made quick work of Spot Up, and the fear right now, if you're a BBG fan, is that the same thing could potentially be coming here. Ryan, looking at this matchup, I mean, they've definitely drawn a short straw. TSM, one of the strongest teams in North America, and sure, the rest of the region has caught up. But at the same point in time, I mean, this is going to be a tough ask for BBG.
Yeah, TSM looked really good in the open qualifiers. I was one of the first to sort of admit, okay, I didn't expect much out of Team Solo Mid. I felt that the operator jet nerfs were going to be a big impact to Wardell. But that game against 100 Thieves, me and Tom casted that, and I held my hand up and said, all right, I wrote TSM off. They look really good here against a team like 100 Thieves that you would still expect to do quite a lot, right? So I think their game against Cloud9 was really close. Honestly, if TSM got to the finals instead of C9, I think they could have won the open qualifiers, to be honest. They look that good. The Built by Gamers, though, it's a tricky one. They've been in the scene quite some time, and they do have some really good players. The issue is this matchup, to be honest. The rest of the group, though, with Renegades and Slimy Boogermen, they can still get through to the quarterfinals, to the playoffs, because they are games that they can win. It's just a shame that they have to start off against an informed TSM.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it's kind of a bit of a rough situation going into the first match, but they do have opportunities later on. I think as well, this is something that TSM have done very, very well, is they came off as obviously the heavier hitters initially, then someone caught up, then it seems like they reworked things, then someone caught up again, and now they look like they've changed everything once again and come back even stronger. It seems like they're a team that are happy to put the work in, put the time in, and consistently improve, and every time people start finally going, now they're going to probably fall off, they're even better than before. So I honestly, this is one of the matches where I go in with a very one-sided opinion. I really don't see a way that BBG come out of this on top, and if they do, they're going to blow me away.
Well, it's tough for me personally. Foe is a friend. I've known him for years after watching him come up in the Counter-Strike scene. But I just looking at this series, I just don't think that BBG is going to be able to take TSM. And I think that's a fair assessment. I think that if BBG even wins a map, that would be a surprise to us. Speaking of the maps, we'll go ahead and pull them up. TSM kicks things off with a ban on Bind. Then we move into Ascent, which is BBG's pick, Haven, and then Split to round things out. The truth is, there aren't really weak maps in TSM's pool. Sure, Bind is maybe one that they don't want to play right now, but they can play all of the maps currently, and who knows, they're probably fantastic on Icebox as well. I don't want to sound like I'm fanboying too hard on TSM. Just the reality of the situation is this has been one of the best teams in North America, trading blows back and forth with Sentinels for a while, and the rest of the scene was largely behind them. Now, we did see the scene kind of catch up to TSM. It felt like Sentinels started to pull away a little bit more dominant maybe as they started to find form. But then when we watched TSM play through the open qualifier, Ryan, that's what you were talking about, is all those question marks we had over TSM, is that short reign already over? Is this team just kind of going to fall back into place with the rest of the scene, or are they going to take a dominant place again at the top or even in that number 2 position? They kind of answered those questions to a certain degree, even if they didn't finish as the number 1 seed. But, is there a chance here, Ryan, for BBG? Is there an opportunity that maybe they can get things started on Ascent? We'll see Rob Wiz really pick things up and get a huge performance to kind of carry the team. Like, is that a possibility?
Definitely. I think Ascent is an okay map, at least for Built by Gamers. They're 2-0 across first strike. The issue is the two teams that they beat. Mamba Mode Gaming, which went into overtime and was a really good game to watch. I watched it earlier on. But then a bit more of a dominant win against the Slimy Boogerman, who they eventually lost the series to in the other map. So it's their best opportunity. We said similar things about XSET yesterday with Cloud9, and look how that turned out. So I do think this is the best opportunity to see some good stuff out of Built by Gamers. But then you got to Haven. TSM are 5-0 on that map, and they look really good on it. So it's a case of, if they could do well on this map, we might be able to see 3 maps total, to be honest, because TSM are on another level. And a lot of these bigger teams aren't giving up anything, even in these more smaller games.
Well, I think we're ready to jump into the action and find out just what is going to happen as TSM and Built by Gamers duke it out on the very first map. It's going to be Ascent. Tom, Ryan, feel free to dismiss me and take it away.
Well, by Bok. BBB, unfortunately, doesn't quite work out as well, but we are going to be getting into things. I think we need to have a hot start for BBG if they are going to have a start in this one, if they're going to be able to do well. Obviously, Bime being banned out actually kind of helped them as well. It's their lowest win % map, so there's some potential here, and already we're kicking off with a flying start. It's going to be pressure put in. There is Rob Wiz. I think he has to have a pretty phenomenal game if they are going to have a chance of taking this one home, and he started off very strong. The dash through gives him an opener, and for the remaining members of TSM, this is going to have to be a retake in a 4v5 situation. Ooh. And Critical's just managed to get 2 with the shock dart. You can see the confidence now flowing through the veins of the BBG guys as Critical will close things out. And Warren, he's the new man on the block, so we're kind of looking at him to see what he now brings to this roster.
And what can you expect from a silver player on this map? The big ol' Odin. He's going to be playing a lot of that. Did that in the game against Mamba Mode Gaming. And their B executes on attack are really good, very utility focused, but they're able to just put so much pressure on those players on the site to the point where you see a lot of teams just move off of it. They're going to 5-stack all of the defending players on TSM. It's just a case of BBG can use that to their advantage, not use too much utility to push onto A, ideally, or even mid, and just take this without any real force. Economy is going to be a big deal in this, and everybody matters, I suppose.
Looks like Foe's about to come under a little bit of pressure. Not the greatest weapon for range. The Stinger will mainly just gain him information. Rob Wiz, however, does have the Marshal available. Should be able to do a little bit more. Nice shot from Wardell, though. Already making things a little bit more costly. This isn't a round where it seems like the defensive side have put too much into this one, so you can expect some rifles to be coming up in the next round. I think it's important, though, that even on an individual level, we see those sort of aggressive plays that we like to see from Built by Gamers. So it's worth mentioning that obviously they do run both a Reyna and a Jet on this map. So in terms of actual utility, TSM are going to have them trumped in a lot of cases. Like those 2 agents, sure, you do have the smokes available to you, but mainly they're used for getting the openers, gaining space. Now, sure, if those 2 players can pop off, this can work. If not, they will eventually get choked out of a lot of these rounds. Of course, this one, not really expecting too much. As said, TSM haven't really invested much into it, but keeping 4 players alive will give BBG a pretty solid... But 3 players alive, sorry, 3 players alive will give them a pretty solid bonus.
Actually, a Guardian in the hands of Wardell. I've seen a few people like Scream pick this up a little bit. Okay, he's maybe wanting to dedicate to that gun as he gets to Vandal, but we could have dreamed. A lot of these operator players have been trying to pick it up a little bit more, but the money is still not good from Built by Gamers. It is a bit of a bonus round, to be honest, with the buy that they have. They can get more, but we are going to be seeing this B execute come in again. Certainly watch where the Paranoias put the layers. It's all placed perfectly. It's just whether a case of TSM's bunkered up comp on this B site in Boathouse, he gets some damage done and stop it from going in.
Drone trying to hold in the backlines. He is going to be able to get the first pick. Even just damage being done here, though, could be hugely valuable. But Drone, he's looking to hold down the line. 2 kills, though, still an even trade. And that's some extra weaponry actually picked up for the side by BBG. This round isn't out of the realms of possibility, especially with the flank that's currently coming in as well from Bior. There's a chance that he could do some serious extra damage. In fact, he's already picked off 1. He gets the kill onto Cutler as well. And considering this was their bonus round, Sub Rosa, I'll admit, I've loved him on the Omen so far. but this would have to be one hell of a play if he's going to get them out of this spot.
Aldron's going to try and locate where he is, does eventually find him right at the end. Sabrosa possibly aiming to try and get him for a ninja defuse, go into the site as everybody's trying to leave, but it's keeping Built by Gamers there. The issue is Sabrosa was 2 health, there was a Nano Swarm keeping him at bay, Bjorn gets his 3rd, and Bjorn's been a really interesting player to watch. A lurking Killjoy isn't a thing that you typically see, but he's been giving it a good go at least. In some cases there wasn't much impact. You compare that to Sabrosa, who you mentioned was a god tier lurker, some incredible plays, had 100 Thieves wrapped around his finger on this very map in that game that we saw about a week ago. Can't believe how quickly that's flown by, actually, now that you think about it. But
he's not
a lot of
Haven as well.
Yeah, and that's their best map. That's where we're going next. But if Built by Gamers can make this close, or God forbid, even take the map, TSM might fall into a bit of a pit, as some teams do. When upsets happen, Cloud9 especially, back in the day, were caught out by that kind of thing. But they're just trying to put some pressure mid, but they don't expect Sabrosa right in this corner. Beautiful shot with the Sheriff.
Can never really count out TSM from any round, so they've got to be pretty careful here. But I like the fact that we're seeing this sort of pacey style that BBG have shown when they're up against lesser opponents. They're still bringing it in, because that's what we saw from Exit yesterday. Was they looked like they weren't even playing their normal style. Now it's another pick coming up for Hazed. This round in isolation, already a pretty decent success. They've made things at least costly. The real question is whether or not they can actually do some more damage. Can they take some more guns away, or could they even steal the round altogether? Now, Will is in a fairly aggressive position, but in terms of weaponry, he does have an inherent advantage. Good flash through is going to leave him completely blind and actually isolate all 3 players into the site. Even if they were just going for exits, they could try and trap these players in, but I think at this point TSM are fully looking to try and go for this. Sabrosa picks off 1, but it's at a trade of 2 teammates. And the aftershock will clear the close angle, but they're not finding any of the frags, and it will eventually be Will to close the round. 3 players lost. Not an awful round, but for BBG, they're just happy to continue to get these attacker-sided rounds.
Yeah, they're just building up a nice little economy. It's another big buy from TSM. And honestly, that round, Drone kind of gave away, made it difficult for themselves to retake that site. Because both the 2 people on post plant from BBG were looking towards the defender's spawn. The aftershock was placed behind them. They checked behind them, and lo and behold, that's where the 2 retakers are for TSM, right? So using that bit of utility made them go, oh, they're over here. We read that wrong completely. It's going to be an aggressive push. Will has been actually great for Built by Gamers. A new addition. And even Hunter's Fury is going to try and clear out some of the site. It does actually tag somebody onto the back. It gets Cutler.
Okay.
That's a great opening, but Sabrosa's in a nice position here to punish.
They're just going to play off this, running straight out into the A site. Sabrosa, as you said, has managed to catch 1 and will even break the door before they can take it. And more importantly, look where the spike is. That is a pretty horrific position to try and reclaim from. They know that Sabrosa is just around the back of the angle, but they will manage to catch him, almost using the Aldrone as bait. The problem is they didn't actually get the spike or move it back. Nice shot from Critical, though. Now, this is a rough clutch, but if he could make it work, it would be a huge start to the game. It's not going to be happening, though. Drone closes the round, and this time, unfortunately, for Built by Gamers, it's not quite going to work out.
Good round from TSM. You'll see this a lot from Built by Gamers. Their BXQ is really good, like we've highlighted. Their A1, not so much. They typically go there when they're on an eco or later on into a round. It's very reminiscent of T1, I suppose, in some cases, where to begin with, on a round, they can look a bit shaky, can often do the same plays over and over. If they can get first blood and make it a 5 versus 4, the confidence just flows through them. They take over the map, they do some really cool plays, but until then, they can be a little bit sheepish. This fight in mid is going to be so important. Wardell, Sabrosa's there on Cubby 2. Position not given up by the Aldron, actually. He catches out Will. Bit of a misplay there from Built by Gamers. Wardell could get out scot-free without being punished at all by the attackers.
Yeah, if there's one man you don't want to leave unchecked, it's probably Wardell. I will have to say that in some of their recent matches, Sabrosa has definitely been keeping up with him, though. He hasn't been the sort of hard carry we saw sometimes in the past. This round, though, he's looking to try and maybe do it all on his own, looking to try and destroy the lockdown, which he will. Now now, well, as you mentioned, there's been some problems where they get a little bit stuck in the mud. Sub Rose has actually got a wide face. Definitely feeling confident. And while in a 5 versus 2 situation, you can understand why. It does give them some space to try and back through mid. But there's a real chance that some of these players are going to get isolated. Hayes makes an aggressive play. And, well, luckily for him, he trades 1-for-1. If he went down there, it would have been a bit more of a problem. However, for Foe, I just don't see how he gets away with this. The aggressive positioning that's already been taken by Cutler is going to make things nigh on impossible. And he's got to get past this corner of Wardell first. Oh, you know what? He's got away with that. However, Cutler is quick to trade.
Could have even got a frag onto Cutler there if he was lucky. Pulling out the knife and then had to quickly get it again. So these open opportunities. Built by Games, unfortunately, isn't really a team known for insanely clutching out. We saw Exet yesterday with Arin, with Pura. They were players that can just pop off at a moment's notice. It was shown for Gen G, right? That kind of player changed how Gen G looked completely. Built by Gamers, that is Will. A lot of pressure is on his shoulders. He does have an Empress ready to go. But if they can get the plant down, Hayes is there with the lockdown for a retake. So might be sitting passive, giving up the B site completely because they are just reading these really good executes from Built by Gamers. Quite happy to give up the site for them if they go in that direction. More than happy for them to play the retake.
Yeah, you can see the consistent switch up in setups from TSM. That's going to make things relatively tough to read. Last round was much more aggression into mid. Now they're trying to hold it from the short control. And Rob Wiz, is he going to expect 2 players to be this close? Bit of utility being expended by the Omen might give him a slight idea of roughly where that's coming from, but realistically, the rest of the team have now actually opted to pressure onto that open mid position. They're going to get scanned up, though. That's a hell of a lot of information going back the way of TSM.
Oh, big kill.
They are going to teleport back in. That's Hayes down, and now they can actually clear out the remainder of the site. Again, it's going to be an advantageous situation on this B site. And as you mentioned, they've looked pretty solid here so far.
And the lockdown's not in play as well, so that pick up to Hayes just means that they've got such a bigger opening. No ultimates available for TSM for this retake. He has stretched across the map, but it's where this Silver is. This is where Critical is going to be playing from. Drone's going to try and flank around, but if he can keep being annoying, Will can at least get 1. Now it's just going to be the 2 on site, pretty much trying to take this fight. How much can Foe do on his own right at the back? TSM are coming in. There is a Hunter's Fury available. Can't be many flashes left from Vice as well. Cutler, nice shot to clear it. There's plenty of time for the defuse. Really good retake from TSM. They didn't have much to work with, but they cleared all of those annoying plays from BBG on that site.
I'm very surprised they actually do that almost as well as they did. Like, that was not only a 5v4, but I think the initial kill on the retake actually goes the way of BBG. I think it was mainly Wardell's double and a quick flank that was coming in at the same time that combines together to get them all the picks they need. But you kind of have to look at BBG in that situation and go, okay, that's a round that after you have that site locked down, you really shouldn't be giving it away. Especially, as you mentioned, there were no ultimates used. That was almost just pure firefights. That was just battles between different players. And all BBG really had to do was trade effectively, which, unfortunately for them, they didn't.
Rob was expecting a recon bolt. I don't think he's going to be expecting Wardell on the top right here. Drone is there to set up a little bit of a crossfire at least, so they should be good for 1. Not looking in that direction. Yeah, it's just going to be a massacre. Not a big buy from Built by Gamers either, I don't think, with a couple of Spectres and Stingers. This is already not looking good for the attacker team.
And these switch-ups in positions have definitely now caught them out a few times. Wardell has been all over the map. He's had pressure in mid, playing towards A. I think maybe we haven't seen him on the B side, but I guess that's normally the one you lock down with all the different utility.
Are they leaving this fight? Must be. Trying to wrap around, potentially. Maybe even if they could just pull a few of TSM away from the site, but clearly they must see that that's the spike on the ground. They are not moving. They're not going to go try and hunt. That's a big thing about these top seeds in the groups, is they have been respecting their opponents. There's not really been too many upsets other than Gen G, but there's still an adjustment period, I suppose. So Bros is watching, but gets traded out by Critical in the meanwhile. But they know where he is. It's a case of if he could get a frag potentially at this point, that's all he can really hope for, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's more of a reason on this patch at least to save your gun rather than going back. Because obviously with the patch that will be coming up soon, if you do save, you only get 1,000 in the bank. So it's much more of a, if you have a rifle, maybe you save. If your team combine the next round, you consider it. Whereas now, you still get a relatively decent amount of loss bonus in these rounds. So especially after they've lost as many as they had, you kind of think maybe just keeping the gun would have been better. Instead, we're going to get another mixed bag buy. And, yeah, basically they're relying on Will to get them a hell of a lot of openers. But after what was a strong start, this has been a real swing back. And Wardell, you can see the confidence growing. As said, he's been all over the map, but now he's looking to try and take control of their portion of it. He had a lot of support, though. And that means this swing back is actually just going to run them straight back into the blender. A couple of kills may not be too bad for a round like this. In fact, Critical making it 3 players dropped is going to cause some cost. The only problem is, with how many rounds have now gone in a row for TSM, we kind of stopped talking too much about their finances. Because even though they only had 2 players surviving here, they're still going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, Cutlass pretty much almost stacked up on cash. It's 5 rounds in a row. They take the lead for the first time in this series. Lots of ultimates for Build by Gamers to work with, though. And I think one thing that I noted from their games before is they do tend to overthink themselves a little bit. It really is a case of continue to maybe hit this B execute because it's so good. It's got TSM concerned about it, hence why Hayes is playing off of the site. Still has that lockdown, hasn't used it since. And hopefully this Aldron at least catches Sabros in this position. Otherwise, we have a repeat of what happened before with Wardell.
Oh yeah, Wardell, again, he's gone pushing all the way through A. So this is so much information that he's already gathered up for the rest of his team. They don't really need to hold any players here. And Subrosa now takes the spot in mid instead. What? I don't even know how he gets 2 kills there, but we're going to move on as the rest of the team are trying to make their way in towards this B site. They're getting hit by a Hunter's Fury, and they are being absolutely slaughtered. A flawless round for TSM. It seems like it's taken a little bit of time to maybe get the engine cooking a little bit, because at the moment, this is dominant.
That spray transfer from Subrosa was dirty. And I say that after we casted on this very map the Odin Ace yesterday with Mitch. That's going in a collection. That's going in a folder somewhere. He has his From the Shadows ready to go as well for Subrosa. But there's not really any need to use it. Build by Gamers used a lockdown on that last push. But they aren't really punishing mid. That's the second time that they've not checked that corner and got punished for it. It's just areas like this that it's a small mistake from Build by Gamers. But teams like TSM are just going to punish that every single day. Now Critical is checking every single corner, but doesn't check that one. And that's where Subrosa is.
Everyone.
Not again! Come on!
Oh, what? 2 rounds in a row? Are you kidding me? Oh, Subrosa just stop. This is filth. He gets 4. Doesn't quite manage to close out with the ace, but I'm sure he's going to have a cheeky grit. Oh, and they've detected. Oh, don't do it, Tim. Come on. This is just mean. Critical suffered enough. Oh, Hayes coming in with it with the bullying. That's all we can really put it down to. That was bullying.
Subrosa. That was... I just can't believe it happened pretty much the same way. Lightning doesn't strike twice, but apparently it does if you're TSM. That was great.
Subrosa does.
Yeah. He's just... But he was one of the better players, I think, in the open qualifiers. He was a Brimstone main originally and had a lot of stuff done on that role. I remember the 5K... Was it 4K or 5K he had on this map from Lurking? And he's not IGLing anymore, so it means that he can just relax a little bit, play in these positions. He gets another one because, of course, he does. Fortunately, Foe puts him out of his misery before he could do too much damage, but it's a 3 versus 3. A Hunter's Fury is available on this attack. It would be great if they could make this 7-5. It's been TSM for the last 8 rounds.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Like, just individual duel after individual duel. Will's Empress gets shut down within a matter of seconds. It's always painful to see that happen. You save up all your lovely ult points, and then 1 bullet to the face is all it takes. Now, Hayes is slowly getting isolated. Doesn't manage to find a pick, but does some extra damage onto the Omen at least. The remaining 2 players, though, are already here on a rotation. No ultimates available other than foes into the shadows, but realistically, I don't know how useful that's going to be. Maybe just for information, he might be able to find out something. Maybe he's actually going to go back to the spawn, but doesn't spot anybody rotating. That's because they're already far closer than they might expect. The spam through the wall as well. So much information gathered, and that gives him the ultimate, but it misses slightly. It may not matter, though. They're both pushing him at once. It's on to Rob to try and hold this. A 1v2 to give them a fifth. He's left so blind. And it just seemed like in that retake, every single little detail, every piece of utility by TSM was used to perfection.
It was really good movement from Rob Wiz to avoid the ultimate, but that recon bolt on the back of sight gave him away completely. All 3 pulses of the recon bolt hitting. We're going to be able to see some of these bright moments from the first half. Built by Gamers had such a good start too. 4-0, but the last 8 rounds in a row have all been TSM. I think we've decided that we're not showing them because the Sabrosa ones were too dirty. Here they are. And this was a really good side from the attackers, certainly these first couple of rounds, but Sabrosa here. That's one.
This was 8 rounds in a row, right?
This is 2. Yep.
Ooh.
All headshots. You want to learn how to spray transfer, that's the guy to watch.
I knew they were going to show that again. I knew they were going to show that again.
There is a saving grace for Built by Gamers, and that is that TSM's attacking side on this map isn't great. They were 2-10 against Gen G and 0-7 against Cloud9. Granted, they are the bigger teams. Yeah. They were handy in beating 100 Thieves, handy in beating Renegades, but it is just a bit of an opportunity for Built by Gamers to play. And their defensive halves aren't too bad either, but I think they need to win this pistol.
Yeah, I think they need some confidence back as well, because a lot of the rounds we see them play on this map, they do like to get aggressive, as we saw from TSM. So we'll see if they can recreate a little bit of that magic. Wardell, though, he's on the hunt, looking for the player underneath, and clears it out all too easily. The first pick goes their way, and it will allow for an after plant position. Drone will sort that. With the shutters closing, it's about to become a little bit more difficult. They're going to know that Rob Wiz is around the angle. They don't have the greatest of utility to get back into this. Nice shot onto Sabrosa, though. That will at least even things up, but the time is ticking. They need to move faster, and Cutler, while moving, finds one. It's still getting traded back, though, and things are starting to slip through the fingers of TSM. This pistol could be going in the other direction. Maybe another strong start to this half as they get it halfway. It's left onto Hayes. He's got his turret to support him. Needs the final shot. And there's going to be just about enough time. They've already got it halfway, so it'll be fine. A 5th round, another pistol as well. Remember, it was a 4-0 start for BBG before TSM came back. Can they convert everything once again and get themselves back into the match?
And the retakes for Built by Gamers on the A site especially are pretty decent. You might see it a little bit now with Rob Wiz over on A. What he might do is look down A main. If he sees something, he just runs. He just absolutely likes it to like tree and garden to play pure retake. It's just a case of check. Are the people there? Are they going to execute quickly? Good. Let's back off. Let them take the site, and then we'll just play as a 5-stack in this retake. This is another still important round. TSM aren't the kind of team that usually forces up anyway. Certainly isn't going to be the case for Hayes here. But they still need to have their wits about them. They're playing a lot of suicide angles, and if the right utility is used here from Hayes, the Nano Swarm in that corner, it's an easy pick onto the Reyna for BBG.
Yeah, again, this is a round where I feel like they don't even want to lose too many players. This has to be a money-making round going into more of a bonus round, as we saw previously. As said, they got off to a very strong start in the last half. They can do the same here. As said, like, the scoreline will look very almost flattering considering what we saw for the last 8 rounds of the previous half. Bo, in a good position. But the Stinger is one that can get fairly easily overwhelmed, especially with how quickly you lose those bullets. And actually, we've got a hero weapon for Wardell going for the taps, and he's going to take down 2 already. Now the pistols do overwhelm that Stinger, and things are starting to fall apart a little bit here. It gets traded over, and Bior's now the only man standing, trying to turn this back, and he has been able to find 2. The man on the other side, though, Drone, is left with just a classic.
He's got a flash.
Fully healed up, though, but he gets him. That nice fill. Just a couple of taps to the face, and TSM, with a single Guardian, managed to win themselves a 9th.
All started with Wardell with the Guardian. What did I say? He's got to keep a hold of it. And that's so difficult if you're built by gamers. You want to win those rounds. You really need to bring yourself back into it. Especially if you could get a few together, much like the start of the last round. There is an Empress available for Will. He's going to have a Frenzy. He's 10 and 10, but might want to wait for the better guns. Some really good play on the attack there. You know, Drone is great. He's one of the better Phoenixes in the region. And his breach is starting to improve to that level as well. Robboy's trying to make a play happen, but the Killjoy turret's going to spot him out. Sabrosa's going to punish him for it. Nightmare scenario for Built by Game is really to be in this position.
This is a round where I haven't really got too much into it. I'm going to try and overwhelm Hayes. Even just grabbing this Vandal would be a nice little bonus, but instead he's going to peek back out, and they know exactly where Will is. In fact, they're starting to hunt him down. Breach flashes, forcing him out of the corner. They're even starting to spam through the walls, and eventually he will meet the same fate as the rest of his team. Double digits for TSM, and the comeback now, yeah, it looks kind of dead.
One thing I'm interested in is how much we see Sabrosa in that lurking position. Because Built by Gamers, they've got an alarm bot in mid. That's pretty much all I dedicate to it. Other than maybe going back to their spawn and jump peeking just to see if there's anybody there from Fountain. But Sabrosa just ran rings around Steel in that 100 Thieves games, right? He was just punishing the Killjoy's utility by smoking it off. Now, Built by Gamers know that they're going to be hit fairly quickly. At least they're going to back off, but nice change of pace from TSM. They have a rolling thunder, so Built by Gamers need to try and spread out as much as possible, not get punished by this ultimate. But Foe might run into Sabrosa, who is just right around this corner. Well, that was close for Rob Wiz. He could have got a kill there.
Not far away, but unfortunately you don't really win anything for not far away. That's a nice peek, though, from Foe. Sabrosa maybe slightly falling asleep. Will be caught out. And this is what we like to see from the defense. As said, I feel like Built by Gamers are a confidence-based team. If they get rolling, they can be fairly difficult to stop, and they definitely have the individual skill. It's one of those teams, I said, like, if you're running a Jet and a Reyna combined, you need to be popping off. Like, you have some limitations when it comes to utility if both of those agents are in play. Robwiz is going to manage to win that duel, but he's been wrecked on the pass through, and Drone will just waltz his way in and steal a rifle. However, they are trading things out effectively, and only losing one player so far. The paranoia going to leave them both stuck in the corner, and Will, he wants to take this fight. He wants to challenge his opponent in this corner, and they're going to jump in, fly through, and gain their 6th round.
Much better for BBG. Really good defense, proactive in their approach. They can't just let TSM do what they want to do. And mid is going to be a battleground. Like I mentioned before, Sabrosa with the lurk is key. He had some big impact rounds in their games at least. But with such difficult losses against Gen G and Cloud9, there's clearly something that can be exploited here on this attack. And there's only 4 rounds between them, to be honest. Really is how they use these aggressive ultimates. Bladestorm not likely to be used, I don't think, by Robwiz, who's going to be contesting mid. And the Empress from Will, probably going to come out in a clutch scenario. But that could be any moment, any time against a team like TSM.
Well, Sabrosa, he likes to get cheeky around mid. Oh, the timing from Will. I like the idea, but unfortunately, he gets caught off by Sabrosa's push through. Bior now trying to make another play through the smoke. Will he meet the same fate? Actually, no. I think he's going to catch out Drone.
Nice.
And even peeks back and gets 3. I don't know how he gets away with that. But nonetheless, it leaves Cutler alone a minute. But he does have the spike.
A-side's open for business if you can get across. Built by Gamers might be happy to give it up. Just play pure retake. It's a side that they're really good on. They even have lockdown if they want to use it, but to be honest, is that likely? Probably not. They really don't want to use those ultimates. Cutler might just want to try and save the gun. What a great round, though, by Bior. That play was so quick, swinging around, punishing those flanks. After a really impressive lurk from Sabrosa, who did exactly as we went over. Smoked off the alarm bot, pushed past it, and caught up the defenders in that position. 20 seconds left. He's still moving towards the site, but there are two people looking towards it. More of an aggressive angle of Bjor in his corner. He'll be able to get more, but it's Foe that gets the frag. 10-7. I'm just glad that we have a really close game here, Tom, because for the most part, these top seeds versus bottom seeds in groups have been blowouts, as we saw before with our boys Spot.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is just because we did see that 8-round streak in a row, like, it doesn't feel that close. Like, I don't feel like TSM have particularly lost control of this yet. I still think they're firmly in the driver's seat, and I think BBG have got a lot to prove if they are going to now grind this back. At the same time, plays like that, that's what gets the blood pumping. Like, that was ridiculous from Bjork. Like, if someone does that to me in a game of Valorant, they're getting reported within, well, 0.3 of a second, which is roughly how long it took for him to get that 3K.
Yes!
See you later, Waddell.
Well, there was, I think it was the Mamba mode. It was the MMG game where Critical with the Odin was top fragging, I think. It was just a crazy performance. RobWiz has mid in control. He has the spike. Critical wanted to check these corners and at least manages to do so as Drone is there lurking. The spray is good, but Will is there to sort of peek him out again. And this is a buy from TSM. Wasn't the best economy in the world, but they still bought up, and they were in a flawless by Built by Gamers. What a great play from them. And an eco from TSM. 2 rounds to separate them could easily be won, but remember the TSM had a really good half buy before they turned the tide against BBG. So it could go either way, but Critical 14-14 with the Odin. Gotta love it.
But this is the thing that I was sort of mentioning when we watched them play previously, is that BBG, like, they seem to thrive off confidence. Like, this round in particular was they get the opening pick, Will then goes for a face into mid, and moments later, RobWiz does almost exactly the same thing. Those are almost pure 1v1 duels that you're only going to be taking if you're feeling very confident, especially when you already have an advantage. So I like that we're starting to see that confidence, and in that round, TSM got caught off guard. They got caught out by these aggressive plays. Now for this, they are going to try and get themselves an execution on towards the A site, but there it is again. RobWiz just shutting down short. He's done a decent job, and TSM are going to have to fight back in this after plant situation. They will eventually get the spike down, but bear in mind, there isn't a whole lot of weaponry. I believe we might have a hero rifle in there as well. I think Wardell, it seemed like he might have had a Vandal, but other than that, this is not a good position for them. Slowly being caught out into the corners. RobWiz will get rid of that rifle, and they're slowly being picked apart, but 2 kills come back. I'm hoping that's all, just for the second. If he wins this battle, then I think I'll take the report onto Cutler as well, because a Stinger at that range, there should be no chance. 10-9. I did sort of count out BBG from this game, but hey, 3 rounds in a row for them now, and Brian, they're in this.
4 ultimates for Built by Gamers. They need to find impact, because look at what's available from TSM. Rolling Thunder, Lockdown, Hunter's Fury. These ultimates that can easily open up a site with a frag or a stun. And with the fact that TSM are all stacking towards A, nice little cubby spot. You can put the lockdown to take control of the site. Hunter's Fury through Tree and Garden, Rolling Thunder onto the site. Don't think they're going to use them all at once. But this is an oncoming storm from TSM now. Built by Gamers, especially this position from Bjor. He could get caught out hard here. If he gets one, that would be insane.
No, it's not gone too great. 2 players dropped, and on the entries, TSM seem like they might come back to prominence. It's aggressive from Wardell, but he catches Will out. 5v2 situation, and although they do have some decent cash built up over the last few rounds, even just keeping these weapons in play might be worthwhile. It seems like they plan to try and do some damage, but RobWiz realizing the operator is far more valuable than that. So after a 3-round streak, TSM are going to be back into, or extending their lead, I guess you could say, as they go up 11-9.
RobWiz is going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Rose is coming through the B site. Just wants to hold on to this gun. He has 3 angles to check, but it's Wardell who gets his 3rd. Really good execute. Bit of a misread, I suppose, from Built by Gamers. If you're in that position and you see those 3 ultimates online for TSM, you don't want to play close. You don't want to play in face on sight, ideally. Because a lockdown is either going to be forced to move you, a Hunter's Fury can easily tag you, a Rolling Thunder's just going to stun you and you're stuck in that corner. So, bit of a weird play from Built by Gamers, but they have plenty of ultimates themselves. I think now we're going to see them play off the site. And luckily, their money is still good from the near enough flawless rounds that they won on their defense. But this is a key round. Built by Gamers win this. They're going to do this with the Hunter's Fury. Must tag on to somebody. He's getting a lot of info and knows it's going to be a big hit, but can't get a frag.
It's an almost identical play, but they might be denied here. It's going to be the Hunter's Fury just being put back through, and that will get rid of the lockdown. That will stop them being forced off of the site. And bear in mind, in this afterplant situation, there's still a Rolling Thunder available for drone. So this could be a pretty rough situation for Built by Gamers to get back into. There is the Rolling Thunder forcing them out, but actually, they're going to be denied. The Nano Swarm holds them back. However, Sub Rosa finds a pick, but he's alone at this point, and Cutler gets forced off the angle as well. We sit in a 3 versus 3. Turret won't last long at all, and Rob Wiz has just managed to kill one off with the Classic, isolating both players underneath the balcony. However, they're running through the smoke to find them, and that's actually going to give Hazed a couple of kills. He's left on 70 HP, the spike's ticking low, and Hazed is going to close out the round. It comes very close for VBG, but it is not enough.
Made TSM sweat a little bit. It's unfortunate, really, that the lockdown play was countered hard by TSM, who pretty much saved that ultimate for that occasion, was forced to use the Rolling Thunder. They didn't find much at all. BBG, this is their best chance. This is their map choice. It's the map that they look the best on, certainly compared to Haven. And they have a judge. The Critical's going to be in with the Odin at least. How they're going to play this is going to be super interesting. It's just a Blade Storm for TSM. They haven't been hitting A. Drone has been lurking at this point. Could be caught out by the judge that's going to be looking within the smoke. But it's whether they expect it as TSM. The rest of them, at least, are going to be hitting B.
Nothing spotted as they look to try and updraft through the window. Or peek through the window, I should say. Critical has taken some pretty hefty damage, but they've held back the push for now. A little bit more patient from the remaining players, and actually a lot of information being found. On the other side of things, though, Cutler's going to go lurking into the smoke. Now, bear in mind, we've already mentioned this judge once, and it is still sat behind it. It's always behind the smokes. But there's no real risks being taken here from TSM. They don't want to go aggressively pushing through up until the point where those smokes have faded. Foe still in a very good position, though. It's an instant headshot from Cutler, however. An opener that they needed, and Rob Wiz is going to re-aggress, try and do it all on his own. He's found 2, and he escapes as well. Left. A huge play from the Jet, and there's been a trade back. Still a 2v2 situation for the side of TSM, and they will be able to get the afterplant in. Now, if there was any time to bring out the Empress, I feel like it's now. This is map point, however, Drone is just pushed aggressively. He's taking those fights, he's looking to end it, but he won't quite be able to, and that's health back up for Will, leaving it into the 1v1. An almost instant headshot needed from Sub Rosa, or this Classic could do enough, and will keep it going. One more round at least, as it's a 10th for BBG, and they managed to hold on.
Oh, Built by Gamers, by the skin of their teeth. That lurk was so good from Drone when he was there the whole time. TSM putting pressure early on to B, getting those A players into position on Cubby and A main. Built by Gamers just had to clutch it out. Some really good plays from TSM, but Built by Gamers, what a great retake. What a great clutch from Will. But other than that, they don't have much to work with. A Blade Storm is almost available for Rob Wiz. From the shadows for Foe, but realistically, how's it going to be used? I mean, there might be a clutch moment here or there. But TSM's money is still good. If they do lose this, though, that's a great opening for Built by Gamers to bring this onto overtime. Because TSM are hanging by a thread when it comes to the money that they have.
Some initial Killjoy utility forces Rob Wiz back at least a millimeter, but then he goes pushing straight through anyway. This could be a problem. That's so much information gathered. He gets caught out by Wardell. Maybe becoming a little bit too predictable. His opponents have found him early, and will give them a 5v4.
It forces the Silver to be jump peeking from Fountain just to check who's mid. There is Sub Rosa there. He might be able to surprise him at this point, but Critical has been so good so far. You can hear where Sabrosa is from the firing, so he has an advantage, but he has the Vandal. His sprays are easily seen, so he can't stay there for long. The Execute's gonna come out from TSM. The Ever from the Shadows can teleport to the back of the site if they want to. But no, he's lurking through. Bjorn's gonna be a pain on the judge, but look at Sabrosa's positioning. He stopped this rotation coming through. This is a mess for Built by Gamers, but they're hanging on still.
Yeah, there is that flank. Eventually, they will be able to get themselves the spike down. It was a little bit of calamity as they do eventually clear out the judge. And the spray through the smoke, which was almost too perfect. The problem now is, once again, we're looking at a map point, an initial take coming out from TSM, and Will, he's one of the members left in this clutch situation once again. But they need to clear out Sabrosa. It's going to be easier said than done. He's still lurking around the backlines, and I'm not sure they even know he's here at this point. Still just taking their time, and Bo, he will check it. Will's found a kill as well. It's left all onto Drone once again. This time, a slightly more favorable 1v1, but he still needs to hit his shots. Will trying to keep them in this map once more, but they're dancing back and forth. He's found the kill, but he doesn't have the time. TSM are going to take themselves the victory. A close fought one by PBG. But ultimately, it is the powerhouse of North America that get the victory.
You're off kilter in the camera, and I'm off kilter just when it comes to my mind. Like, I was not expecting Built by Gamers to bring it down to that. If they win that round, they go into almost overtime with the better economy. That is so unfortunate. Came down to a hair. Drone was that kind of player, though. Really good play from TSM. But that's such a good look for Built by Gamers. Yeah, they're not really expected to be beating TSM. But the rest of their group is Renegades and Slimy Boogermen. Two teams that they could beat to get to the quarterfinals. Yeah. And who, from then on out, they could book themselves into the actual Riot round finals in December. They just need a couple of good games. That was a really good look for them. The issue now is that we got to Haven, and TSM are 5-0 on that map. So hopefully we still get a good game there, but you still fancy TSM to be taking this 2-0.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was always going to be the case, like, especially with the way that the veto is going to go, especially with the fact that they like to play Ascent. It's a map that, well, we know for a fact that TSM are more than happy to play. They've been playing it since pretty much it came out. I think they're one of the teams with the most maps probably of any team on that map. So realistically, I think with both of these coming up, I don't really see too much of an opportunity for them to bring that one back. But yeah, it was a much better showing, especially like I'd sort of counted them out after they lost their 8 rounds in a row and then lost that 4 spy. To then bring it back to even be close and coming down to like clutch situation, it's fairly impressive. So I've definitely enjoyed watching them. Hopefully they can surprise us a little bit on Haven as well. But I do believe we're probably going to be heading off to a bit of a break before then, just to give us a little bit of time to catch our breath, and we'll see you after that.